Hello and welcome to gps-camera.eu. Today with a little film about geotaggers, the plugs and cables, a comparison of different geotaggers. First we will start with the Phottix GPS, which is similar to the Nikon GP-1. As we see now here, it has a quite long cable and the plug is looking sidewards. When we screw to the camera, we will see that we have not much space, but quite enough space to turn the screw. And when we look from the front, we will see that the plug is looking quite far over the body, so there is a risk of getting caught with the cable or of crunching the cable and having a bad contact by moving things against the cable. The same with the camera strap on the top. So we unscrew this geotagger now and we will compare what other brands are doing. First we take an example on the DI GPS of Dawntech. The DI GPS series of Dawntech has plugs that look straight upward. As we see, it is a bit harder to get to the screw because we can't get to the screw with fingers from both sides, so we will have to look that we don't press too much from one side not to get the screw stuck, but then it will work quite fine. And what we see here is that if we turn the geotagger once like a screw before we set it on the hot shoe, we will have the cable quite nicely on the body and not standing apart. No great risk of getting caught. Okay, we continue to compare it with another one, the Solmeta Geotagger N3. Solmeta Geotagger N3 prefers or uses a spiral cable, and the plug is looking right upwards too, as we see. So it's quite similar to the Dawntech models here, nothing standing apart to the side, just the spiral cable needs a bit more space but is more flexible. We still get to all knobs, to all buttons on the camera, and we have nothing standing apart. Quite nice with the spiral cable is that it is flexible. We can use this flexibility to put the GPS a bit further apart, like if you have some fancy equipment to replace the hot shoe, like those hot shoe metal things that stand apart, or that we fix it, for example, on a SB800 flash or something like that. Okay, let's unscrew the Geotagger N3 now from Solmeta, and let's see what other cameras look like. Basically, Nikon has two different kinds of sockets, one for the D200, 300, D300S and so on, up to D700, 800, D2, D3, D4 series, which is the professional cameras, and they have a second socket which is rectangular for the consumer cameras like the D90 that we use now. Let us have a look first at the D90 together with the Phottix GPS, similar to the Nikon GP-1. Let's undo the exchange cable and change over to the cable for Nikon consumer cameras like D90. What we see already is that the cable is quite longer than the other cables, and it has a straight plug which looks quite far apart. Just to know, there's a difference between Nikon D90 and the other consumer cameras. The Nikon D90 has the plug exactly to the other direction than the other cameras. Okay, what we see here, it stands really far apart and is not really handy, and a risk to get stuck or even to collide with the camera strap, and a risk of destroying the plug on the socket on the circuit board. Let's see what other producers do on this. This is now the Dawntech DI GPS for D90, and we see it has a plug which looks upwards, and if we turn the unit once around in a circle, it will snuggle and fit quite nice or very nice to the camera. Nothing stands really apart. It will fit quite easily into any camera bag. And still all the buttons and so on of the camera are to be reached easily. Okay, let's come to Solmeta and compare the Solmeta model, which has a spiral cable again, and we see it's a bit longer. It will not really stand apart. It snuggles quite nice to the camera, and it will not be in the way. Still, it will be more flexible than the straight cable of Dawntech again. Nikon has done a strange thing. The first camera with this kind of socket was the D90, and the D90 socket is turned around about 180 degrees compared to all other Nikon consumer cameras with a GPS socket. So this model would look like this on other cameras like D3000, 3100, 200, 5000, 5100, 5200, D7000 and D600. Therefore, Solmeta and Dawntech produce two types, so the cable will always, or the plug will always look upwards. You just have to choose for D90 or for the other consumer cameras. Another point is that with the D3100, 200 and so on, the plug is further on the top. We will show this later with, or we show this better with the DI GPS of Dawntech. The socket is higher on the little cameras like the 3000 series and 5000 series, like about here, and so you can just do a curling into the wire and it will be no problem at all too if you fix it like this. Just to have a look again, this was the Solmeta N3 series, this was the Dawntech DI GPS series, which comes in different types, with compass, with track logger, without, and finally the Phottix GPS, which is basically the same as the Nikon GP-1. Okay, that's all for now, folks. Thank you and goodbye.